I was thinking about it. I think I mentioned this back when you were on right before you all opened, and that was because you have been doing this for
Long
years and
time.
years. It's got to be really interesting to go from the hustle that you had. I mean, you're still working, right? It's not like it's but to go from that to then all of a sudden being in like the center of food in Syracuse, really.
Really.
I was talking with somebody recently, and they were saying we were talking about if you're going to go somewhere in Syracuse where you want to be seen by people, and you want to see like the important people, and if you're going out to eat, you're going to the Salt City Market.
Going to the market.
And so, what's it like? I mean, it's been 2 years.
It has been 2 years. So January,
Okay.
January, end of the month. I think it's the 27th or something like that. It
Yeah.
was our second birthday.
Wow.
It's been fast.
Yeah.
Though it's been a whirlwind. It's just like, oh, two already? All right, here we are.
What have the differences been like for you? In a lot of different aspects. What's the difference been for you as in like operating the business from before doing a lot of caterings and stuff like that to then now being in the market?
So it's been a total learning curve. You think on your feet, you learn on your feet. It's pivoting, it's adapting. In a catering world, it's exact numbers. I know what I'm going in to do today. I know this person wants 8 pans of macaroni and cheese, 2 pans of salad, and we're done. We box it up, we drop it off, and that's it. But you're operating more and interacting more with the clients, and it's just like, okay, you don't know what today is going to do. You don't know if today's going to be a $2,000 day or a $200 day.
Yeah.
You don't know that. So, I think that's the biggest thing for me, is learning how to go with the ebbs and the flows. And over time, over the course of 2 years, you kind of get a feel for your days. I know my Mondays are going to be busy because most of downtown is closed. Towards the weekend, you're going to be, busy because people get paid.
Yeah.
So you learn to make the necessary adjustments for that. But if you can't do that, if you can't go with the ebbs and the flows, this is definitely not the business for you.
So what was that like? I mean, restaurants in Syracuse, especially something like the market, they're going to be super busy when you first open, and then it slows down, right? And then I think over time, like you kind of find that balance. So what was it? Was it like really hard in the first few months of you trying to get used to those ebbs and flows?
We call those real numbers. You will find out what your real numbers are. It was, that first year, we were just like the place to be.
Yeah.
And it was just like busy all the time. And in that hectic busyness, you're trying to learn what it is to do and what not to do. So, that was something, but you get it. You get it, you catch it, and you move on. And now, like you said, we've kind of settled out.
Yeah.
People know, most people do, they know where the Salt City Market is. You got your regular customers. You see them walking in the door, you just start dropping fish or chicken because you know what it is that they're going to want. And you get to that place that you're comfortable, but you don't want to become complacent.
Yeah.
Because with complacency, you get sloppy.
Yeah.
So overall, it's just like you find that baseline. And like I said, I know when my busy days are. I know when my slow days are. We know when there's something going on across the street at the hotel because we see buses and we're like, okay, well, we better amp up our production today because they're going to come right across the street.
Yeah.
So it's just learning that flexibility.
Yeah.
And you have to have help to do that.
Yeah.
You have to.
Were you prepared for that, or did you have somebody that was like kind of had that in their mind, or when you realized you kind of had to be flexible, where'd you go to figure it out, or was it just kind of trial and error?
Well, I have a great team. I do. I have a great team, and we figure it out together. It's just like, all right, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And the conversations aren't always pleasant because I can be very stubborn and they're not always pleasant. But at the end of the day, you do what's best for the business.
Yeah.
Well, look, the macaroni and cheese isn't working out this way. Okay, so let's try another way. Okay, well, maybe we need to prep this at night instead of trying to do everything in the morning. Just little things. And it's the simplest things that save so much time and frustration.
Yeah.
Well, let's find an easier way to get our customers out of here on time, so that they don't have to wait as long, just gauging everything. And it helps to have people to bounce those ideas off of,
Yeah.
and we even ask our customers sometimes, what would you like to see? What would make this easier for you if you're on lunch? What do you want to see?
Yeah.
And it's helpful. Feedback. You can't be resistant to feedback.
Yeah.
Negative, positive, you have to take it all into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought about that concept a lot of like trying to listen to the customers. I mean, it seems simple, like they're the ones that are buying the food, so listen to what they want. But there is something, I don't know. There's different. You have to know your market and what they want, And so John Page and I had that conversation at one point because like before we opened, or even we do like a different weekly special every week at the restaurant, a different style of sandwich. So I'll go on to Instagram and I'll just type in fried chicken in Los Angeles or Nashville or whatever and see what other restaurants post and try and steal some of their ideas.
Absolutely.
If it works for them. But we had the conversation, all right, if food trends start in LA or New York City and then 5 years later or 2 years later, whatever it is, get to Syracuse, would it be beneficial to figure out what that trend is now in LA and do it here, or would it not work? Do you have to wait that time because that's just the market that we're in? Like for example, I forget which restaurant it is, but there's some really famous restaurant right now who's making a chicken sandwich, a fried chicken sandwich, but it's the meat is like a combination of the leg and the thigh, and they butterfly it, but they leave the actual foot of the chicken on the sandwich, and they deep fry it. So it's a bun, and then the actual foot of the chicken is hanging out off the side, and they're doing it because they're saying, we want you to know you're eating real chicken. If I ever did that here in Syracuse, people would be running for the hills.
Yeah. It's an entirely different market.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different market, and I don't think that Syracuse is ready for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because like you, I scroll and I'm searching, and you're doing the research, and it's just like, one, you can't serve that here because in Syracuse there's a certain price point.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go above that price point. And to serve some of these things, you have to be willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of, my struggle. It's like I have great things to offer, but these things cost.
Yeah.
I recently took the oxtails off the daily menu, and we're going to run them as a special because, you're complaining about the price.
Yeah.
I have to pay for them.
Yeah,
you know
for
what I
sure.
mean? And it's like I can't offer oxtails for $10.
Right.
That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. Just like your demographic.
Yeah.
You have to know what your customers would do and what they would not do. And if you do introduce them to new things, you have to gradually, do it. Like with my soul rolls, I started out serving lobster, macaroni, and cheese during late night service. And then it was just like, okay, well, let's try to put this in an egg roll wrapper and see how it goes over. And it took off, because they're familiar with lobster mac and cheese.
Yeah.
So why not try it?
Right.
So it just made sense. It was a logical progression.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but to do that, that wouldn't be so logical. You get a little pushback and resistance, and being mindful of what they will do and what they won't do.
Yeah, for sure. Have you, what's it been like managing like what you want to do yourself versus what you want to buy? Like, in terms of like, even if it's making something like from that, like if you're making your own lobster mac and cheese egg rolls, that's a labor for sure. Has that been like kind of a challenging thing over the past 2 years trying to figure that out?
It's always challenging
Yeah.
because we're very particular
Yeah.
about what we do. and we're very hands-on. You know, I don't believe in having too many people in the pot because I believe with a restaurant, you got to be either consistently good or consistently bad. You know, at least you know what you're going to get. You're consistent. You know, you got to be consistent.
Yeah.
People buy for convenience
Yeah.
and consistent. You know, you go to McDonald's, you go to a fast food restaurant. It's not the best meal in the world, but you know what you're going to get.
Right.
You know, so with that being said, I kind of like to do everything, you know, myself, do everything by hand. Labor, we haven't found people that we could train, you know, yet to do these things. So I can step away and work on the business and not in the business. You know, that is a great struggle, trying to find that balance between work, you know, working in the stall, working on the stall, and then having a family. You know, that's really, really hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really hard to do.
Yeah,
So it's a struggle. You know, it's definitely a struggle. And you have the late nights and the early mornings, and this is your baby. You know, it's like you have a 2-year-old, you know, and you just get up and you make it do what it do, you know, and you get up and you do it again the next day. And with the hopes and prayers that one day it just mellows itself out.
Speaking of that, what are your ultimate goals for the restaurant? I mean, so you're there for 5 years?
3.
3 years. Okay.
3.
So what is the one day back when I used to go see a therapist, years ago, I used to always think like one day you've made it, you figured out all your problems, balloons fall from the sky and, ta-da, you're great. You're well now. And my therapist used to always say that never happens. That day never comes. So if that day did come as a restaurant owner, what do you think that would look like for you?
A full service, sit down, upscale restaurant that serves not only soul food, but good food.
Yeah.
Across the board. That's enjoyable, that has a nice atmosphere, still home. This is my home. So in Syracuse, this is my home, and I would like to establish that here.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like, to be able to do things my way.
Yeah.
That's it, to do it my way. Sinatra there,
Yeah.
I did it my way.
Yeah.
And that would be like my last shebang. Like, look, I did it my way, whether it works out or not, I believe it will.
Yeah.
I tried it and I did it my way and, drop the mic.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, to be able to have people of different status, different races, just all come together and vibe and eat a good meal. Food is the ultimate unifier.
Yeah, for
You can crack anybody with a good meal. Sit down and eat and listen to some great music from the 80s and 90s and, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the restaurant. There's a famous restaurant in, is it Charleston? I'm pretty sure it's Charleston. And, but it's like fine dining soul food. And, it's going to drive me crazy, but it's in an old Greyhound bus station.
Oh, wow.
And, it's like on like my list of top restaurants to go visit, when we travel. But yeah, you don't really see too many most soul food restaurants. Like I think it's some of my favorites in Nashville or back in Texas, and it's all kind of like plastic tablecloths.
Grab and go.
Yeah, exactly.
And just like a grab and go.
Yeah, and there's not too many examples of like kind of like an elevated soul food experience.
No, like you have Red Rooster.
Yeah.
But it's a different interpretation of soul food.
Yeah.
And I want that food that my granny cooked. I want the food you're going to taste the macaroni and cheese and remember like, oh my God, this is like, I'm home. I don't need anything added to it. I don't need just cook the macaroni and cheese. We don't need the extra stuff. So I definitely want it to be, this is not, a dressed up version of soul food.
Yeah.
The food is the same, but the ambiance and the atmosphere is different.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think there's a way to translate that and make make soul food elegant.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. What are those? What how does like the family recipes kind of play in? Over the past, now that you've got the restaurant, does it feel? If you're like, I'm assuming you're taking some of your recipes have got to be family recipes, right?
They're all family
They're all
recipes.
yeah.
And the funny part about it is there aren't any recipes. It's just you just do it and
Yeah.
you just know how to do it. Nothing, and I'm currently working on that because my partner is yelling at me like every day, like, you need to train someone to do this. Well, I can't train them because I don't even know what the hell it is that I do. You know what I mean? I just do it. So taking the time to make the passed down recipes, if you will,
Yeah.
to write them on paper so that you can teach the next generation. My daughter and my son, they can make my macaroni and cheese, but they can't tell you how much of this they put in it or how much. They just do it,
Yeah.
because they've seen me do it and I've seen my grandmother do it. So, yeah, it's all family. It's all home. I've been, with my grandmother cooking since I was like 4 years old. She had me on a stool frying my first egg. So it's just a natural progression. Not what I wanted to do. I have a major in human biology, but I'm in the kitchen. But go figure.
Yeah.
But I love it. And if you love what you do, you
Yeah.
never work a day in your life.
Yeah. There is something very satisfying about thinking about a dish that you're going to create, putting it together, testing it, knowing that it's delicious, making it for somebody else, like putting it on the menu, selling it to them, and then having them enjoy it. There aren't many, it seems really simple, but there aren't many feelings quite like that I found. And when you can create something from your imagination and have somebody else really appreciate it, it feels really good, especially around food.
It does. That is like the best feeling ever. Like you can be having the pissiest day, and nothing's going right. The fryer oil didn't get there on time. Your delivery truck is late. And somebody will walk up to that counter and they'll be like, this is the best macaroni and cheese I've ever eaten. I'm telling you, it just turns your whole day. Turns your whole day around. Or, the soul rolls like, oh my God, that was just great. It will make the rest of your day like, okay, this is why
Yeah.
I do this. This is what it's all about. And it's just a great feeling. You're absolutely right. There's no better feeling.
Yeah.
None. Especially when it comes to food. Food is like giving somebody a big hug. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like if you can get to the belly,
Yeah.
we got them.
Yeah. I appreciate the kind words about our videos, but that would mean nothing to me if you told me, hey, that chicken sandwich was delicious. I'd be like, okay,
Right.
year has been made. I'm done now.
Right. Like it's done. It's
yeah.
done. My son's had one, but I haven't.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you're like this, but I'm constantly thinking of ways to like tweak how the process or the recipe or anything to get it better. Even today, I stopped into a restaurant to get lunch, and the woman who owns it or who is managing it, she was like, "Hey, we heard that you were talking that you tweaked it, so we stopped in to try it again. And can I give you one suggestion?" I was like, "Yeah, please," because it's constantly trying to like make it perfect, So you're in the kitchen a lot most of the time, right at the restaurant.
Yep, most of the time.
Is it difficult? Like, how difficult is it for you to step away knowing someone else is making your food or serving your food?
Even the service, I cringe. But I can't be there all the time. And it's family, so most of the time it's going to be somebody. It's going to be my daughter back there, my son, or my partner. So we're all family.
Yeah.
So that gives me that comfort and that ease. But when you're like, I'm very type A, and it's just like, I have to realize that it's not going to be my way all the time, but it's on the plate. Just let it go, So it's difficult, but they know what I like.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're great. Everybody just works together and they get the job done. But I sometimes have to leave to
Yeah.
keep from jumping behind the line because I've done it. I've left a table full of work and I'll just get up and my daughter's like, Mom, I got it. I got it. No, you don't. The tickets are just backed up. Let me help you, so it's hard,
Yeah.
it is tough. But, wanting to hire people, I do, and train people, especially to get to that next level because you can't do it all alone. You just can't, and that would be foolish of me to think that. I told my partner I wanted to be knee deep for 2 years. My 2 years was up in January, and I'm now neck deep. So yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
To run it,
I
to do everything, it's a lot.
I couldn't imagine being the owner. I mean, with 301 Fried, it's not a big swing. It's not a really big risk because it's in an already existing,
Right.
somewhat successful restaurant. So, but I could not imagine being. And one thing that's really shifted for me a lot is I've always looked up to, and I still do, people, business owners, especially restaurant owners, who go through and take out the loans and find the space and all that kind of stuff because it's such a big risk. And it's only been up until like really the last year that I've started to talk to some of them who are like, yeah, we just started working a part-time job, or man, we really don't know what we're doing. This is just a big leap of faith. That's been a really big eye-opener for me to talk to other grown adults who have taken this risk.
Right,
And it's
right.
like, oh, we don't know what we were doing. We were just hoping, we had an idea. We were hoping it
Hoping
works
for the
out.
best.
It's like, oh, that's what I did. I just didn't take as big of a risk. So yeah, I mean, I really, it's really impressive to think of somebody who does all of, who goes through all of that to just serve food.
Right. Just it's kind of crazy when you think about it like that. Like, well, gee, you're absolutely right. That was nuts. That was really foolish of
Yeah.
you. But I think it comes down to you have to believe in your product.
Yeah.
And you have to believe in yourself. You have to have that certain level of confidence. And I think that that's what drives me, because even on the days where I feel as if I'm not so good, I have somebody behind me telling me that I am, and that you can keep pushing and that you can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that translates in the food and the service. Morale, self-morale, it makes a huge difference in what you're able to do and what you're not able to do. So as long as your morale stays up, we're going to keep working and we're going to pay off this loan. We're going to keep frying this chicken so we can eventually pay off this loan. But it is crazy. It's nuts. But when you just want to share, when you just want to share a part of who you are, a part of your culture and a part of your family and your experience as it relates to food.
Yeah.
You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Creating memorable moments utilizing food. That is one of our taglines. So when you eat, we want you to remember that. We want you to have an experience, not just a plate of food.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
it's worth it all.
Yeah. I mean, listen, us, popping in for lunch that day, it brought me back to a lot of different good moments in life. I mean, just from having lunch, but it brought me back to the cafeteria places in Nashville, where you go through, and
Yeah.
it brought me back to spots in Texas and those fond memories, and I'm not kidding, the chicken. I mean, it's my mama used to always fry. She would do kind of thick, heavy, flour-coated, boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and it was like a southern chicken cutlet, in her cast iron, and then she'd make her gravy, right afterwards.
Yes.
But there's just something about that, it's just kind of something about bringing me back to that. So it really, great food can do that, and even more so the environment that I think is created from the, from the food, we kind of condense it into vibe today, into the vibe of the place. But,
Absolutely.
yeah, that really can make a big difference in somebody's day or memories.
Right.
Yeah.
It does, and just looking to be able to eventually expand, to be able to broaden that menu. We're in a little kitchen right
Yeah.
now, so we don't have, going back to being creative and coming up with new things. We don't have the space,
Yeah.
right now to do that. So we're really, really limited.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, but give me a kitchen. Give me a big kitchen. It's over.
Yeah.
Game over.
Right.
Like gravy. Oh my God, smothered chicken. Oh yeah, yeah. So it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. So how does that, I feel like, a restaurant owner is going to, everybody signs a lease, but a restaurant owner is going to go into a place and kind of like, okay, I'm there. But you went in knowing there was an end. There was a day that, the 3 years was going to be up. So are you kind of preparing for that? Are you able to renew and stay there? Could you, if you wanted to? How does all that work?
We are. We're able to stay.
Okay.
If we want to stay.
Yeah.
Your lease is renewable. If it's mutually agreed upon.
Yeah.
You all can stay. We can stay. Just thinking about what it is that we want to do.
Yeah.
Going forward, because this is an incubator. It's not meant for you to stay here and set up shop for the
Right.
next 30 years. You have to let somebody else in so that they can learn.
Yeah.
And move on to do whatever it is that you're going to do, be it just cater or a food truck or whatever it is that you should have, you should so decide. So, we have the option.
Yeah.
We have the option to stay, and we have the option to go. It is, at our discretion. Leases will not be for another 3 years.
Yeah.
It'll just, I think they're a year,
Oh, okay.
year to year, going forward after January of 2024.
Yeah.
So we've been thinking about it, for a long time,
Yeah.
what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And I think we'll make our decision final within the next couple of months.
Okay. Yeah. It really, it's a phenomenal space and opportunity. And, thank God that it's, the Allen Foundation has the deep pockets to keep that going because,
Absolutely.
it really is, it's not like a destiny, situation where it's like this grand dream and then it never happened or it, shut down, right?
Right.
And having a concentrated place where you can get the variety of food and have it all in like this really professional atmosphere is just awesome.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
It's just a great place to be.
Right.
I've met a lot of great people. Like you said earlier, it's kind of like the who's who.
Yeah.
You can see Mayor Ben walking through, Deputy Mayor Sharon, you got the county execs that come in, and when they come in, they're just people.
Right.
They're just somebody looking to have a great meal and they're holding conversations and having meetings. It's really a great place to be. It was needed.
Yeah.
Especially during that time. Everybody was cooped up for COVID and, just looking for some sort of relief. And we were like one of the only places open, during that time. So it just gave people a lot of relief. And I do think that having the variety of cultures, the multiculturalism that's in there, I think it's great, especially for that crossroads, that intersection there, because all people come there.
Yeah.
And through food, you can kind of eradicate some cultural biases and ignorances,
Yeah.
By sharing culture through food.
Yeah.
Even I still to this day, I go around and I ask questions, okay, well, what's this and where does this come from? And, you learn,
Yeah.
and it's great because other people do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really interesting. So what has been, I know there's probably been a lot, but what's been like one of the bigger challenges over the past 2 years?
Past 2 years, January, let's say from Thanksgiving. From Thanksgiving through April, we're just starting to see an uptake in business.
Yeah.
That's like restaurant dead time.
Yeah.
You got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, and you have the New Year, and
Yeah.
then so that's always very difficult. Difficult for us in trying to find creative ways and solutions to, sustain ourselves.
Yeah.
During that slow period, and it's been that way for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out, okay, how do I pivot? How do I move? What can I do? To generate that extra income during this slow time.
Yeah.
So that's been the toughest.
Yeah.
Anything else after that, if you can make it to the next April, anything else is gravy.
Well, you're one of the few that I feel in the market that I feel like has done a great job of kind of expanding outside of the market. I mean, especially like the sauce is the number one thing I think about, but you've really done a great job of kind of making sure it seems like that you're not solely dependent upon whoever's going to be walking inside that door.
You can't be. We did the sauce, so now our sassy shrimp, we actually brought them back on the menu because we took them off for a little while. Marketing 101, make them crave for it. And then when the sauce hits, bam, you can buy the sauce. So we started trying to bottle the sauce before COVID.
Oh, okay.
But because of COVID and then the supply chain, everything went to pot, so we had to wait. So we're actually able to get that in a bottle in December,
Okay.
just before the holiday. So now that's at the Co-op has it, Green Hills has it, Nichols has it. So we're working on getting it, getting it out. We ship it, so you can go
nice.
online and order it. So in addition to that, we've always been caterers.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's where the majority and the bulk of our money comes from.
Yeah.
It comes from catering.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from day-to-day sales. It comes from the catering. We do a lot with SU. We do a lot of catering, and that's been able to sustain us, through the slow time. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah. That's good to know. I just people always text me or texting me like, "Hey, we're looking for a caterer," and I know, I always just recommend Limp Lizard because it's the only place that I know of where it's like, "Hey, they do a ton of catering." But yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, we have SU trucks back in 400 people.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and we do it all out of the little tiny stall.
Really?
Yes,
Holy cow.
and hold the day service. So we get it done.
How do you do
we
that?
we get
That's
it done.
nuts.
It's magic.
Yeah.
We get it done. Even our Thanksgiving, we do Thanksgiving meals. Our Thanksgiving special comes out every year. And last year, I think we did 43 turkeys.
Wow.
Fried and roasted. And over 200 pans of sides. We pull an all-nighter to do it.
Wow.
But it's fun. You get the kids involved and everybody's there, hollering and screaming at each other. But at the end of the day, the job gets done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Nuts,
Yeah. So with bottling the sauces, is that something and getting them into accounts, is that do you have to go through a distributor or are you just doing it yourself?
So we use a co-packer.
Okay.
So we had to go to Cornell and their food sciences center up there, and they did all the science stuff behind the food, the pH and all that stuff, and told us what we needed to do to pack it properly, have it shelf stable. And from there, I did not want to take on the cost right now, excuse me, of having a big distribution.
Yeah.
It's a lot. That's a whole different beast that I'm not ready for just yet. So Glen Co-packing, they do it in smaller batches. So I can get anywhere from, a case to a couple thousand bottles at a time.
Oh, that's cool.
And, it's manageable.
Yeah.
And I went and I got my own UPC code and, stuff like that to make it manageable.
That's cool.
For now. Now, if it, when it blows up, we'll have to reconsider that. But for right now, that works for me. They do it for us. We go pick up the bottles and, distribute them ourselves for right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's I think about beer or liquor. It's relatively easy. If they make beer, they can go. There's variety of distributors that they can go to, and there's bigger ones and there's smaller ones. But if you're doing your sauces, how are you doing that?
Right.
Are you having to go knock on the doors yourself to
Yep.
try and get them in?
Because there's a million of them.
Yeah.
There's a million condiments.
Right. Yeah.
What makes yours better than this one?
Yeah.
Even with the local grocery stores, it was, okay, we'll try it. Okay, well, let me come into your store to do a demo. And if
Yeah.
the people like it, you put it on your shelf. We went to Nichols and sold out of 5 cases in 3 hours.
Wow.
It's like, well, I guess I'm putting it on the shelves. I guess you better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like they already have shelf space. Their shelves are accounted for.
Yeah.
So they're either going to have to move something, take
Yeah.
something off to put you there. So you have to sell yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be on the bottom shelf or the second from the bottom of the shelf, but damn it, I'm on that shelf.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough. A lot of door knocking, and we're not done, door knocking, because to get into like Tops and Wegmans, and that becomes a different level of, it's a lot you have to do.
Yeah.
They have to want you. They have to seek you out. So you have to go on this big platform. It's, to simplify, it's like a Facebook for sauces.
Yeah.
They're looking for you, and they can search you out and say, hey, well, this looks interesting. And,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole world.
It is. It really is.
And it's a marketing effort that's like completely on its own. You have to build that brand,
Yep.
to push that along with the other thing.
Right. And something kind of right now just takes the back seat
Yeah.
because, there's just,
All right.
there's not enough hours in a day to do what you want to do. Hence working on the business and not in the business. So I got to get out of the kitchen first to be able to do that.
So, I mean, what's it been? I mean, you've always been part of the food scene, but you've got the restaurant now. You're in, like I was saying earlier, you're a part of like one of the main hubs of food in Syracuse. So, what's that like to be? What are the things that you've appreciated about being a part of the food scene, and things you wish were different?
Well, that's a shocker. Yeah, I never heard put like that. I'm now a part of the food scene in Syracuse. You just don't think about it. You just do what you do.
You're part of that conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I am. And it's just like I really don't think about it that way. But you're right. Yeah.
And really, I mean, to go a step further, you're kind of like, you're a very important part of a small part of that conversation, because if we're talking soul food in Syracuse, what are our options?
Right.
There's not many. I
Not
can
many.
think of like maybe 4 or 5,
Not
if that many,
Right.
of at least the ones that I know about. So, and those are the people who know what they're doing when it comes to soul food.
Right. Right. You got to know
Not
what you're
the ones
doing.
who are just putting the dish on because,
Right.
and naming it something, right?
Right. Right.
Doing the mac and cheese and calling it, the box mac and cheese and calling it something else. So,
Like, what are you doing?
right.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, what's that like?
It's humbling, it's very humbling. And like I said, I love what I do. And it's just always very interesting to me, because you don't hear people, you're not used to hearing people talk about you, like that, like, oh, that's some great food, or you should go, and try this place. So it's always an honor, and I can appreciate the fact that people like what it is that I have to offer. I appreciate the fact that people appreciate my efforts. That people like the fact that I get up every morning and make the macaroni and cheese from scratch. You know what I mean? That my chickens are roasted in the oven. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the feedback and the kind words, because people don't have to, they don't have to be nice.
Yeah.
I do. I enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. What I dislike is that sometimes people are not willing to pay what you're worth. I really dislike that.
Do you get a lot of you get comments about that?
I do. I do. And I've gotten that. My price is my price.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're not eating craft. You're
Right.
you're eating macaroni and cheese that has been cut by hand and shredded, with lots of good stuff in there. So I'm sorry. It's $80 a pan. Now, I might not be the caterer for you,
Yeah.
if this doesn't fit your budget. I do get a lot of that. I want you to stay and serve, but I don't want to pay a service fee. Well, it's kind of how it works. Service fee, that's the thing that I dislike. And I chalk that up to, every customer is not your client.
Yeah.
You have customers and you have clients. Clients will continually come back. They enjoy your food, they enjoy your service, they like your work ethic. But a customer, you can see them one time and they're just gone. And that's what I chalk it up to. It's like your people are your people. Your people know what you're gonna do. They know what to expect, and they rock with it. So I love the good, how people love me and appreciate the food, but I dislike some people not wanting to pay what it's worth. So that's the two ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was. It's a wild feeling to see reviews come in that aren't great about your food. That's something over the past year that I've really come to. You always kind of see it running social media for a bunch of restaurants in town over the years. You kind of get them, and it's like, oh man, what did they screw up now? And there's still times I think about that with staff. That's what I was asking earlier. How does it feel? Because we got a negative review a couple weeks ago about the sandwich was way crazy oversauced. By the time we got the food home, the bread, we couldn't even use the bread. And I was like, oh shit, Bob. I was like, I know exactly. I was
know
like,
exactly what
I was like,
happened.
I told you to stop doing that.
Right.
And that's a really frustrating feeling because for me, I'm sitting at home, I get the review, and it's like, we close in an hour. I want to run up there and just be like, I got it, sort of a thing. But then there's some reviews where you get, and they're just dumb. And it's like, oh, or even, and I know it seems silly doing what I do with Eat Local on our content side, but we got this one review. The guy, felt like he was the Yelp food critic of Syracuse. And
There's a lot of those.
Right. The review started off with Chuck Orlando and Nick Ford of Limp Lizard team up with Anthony Tringale of Eat Local New York. I'm like, who the hell are you and how do you know so much about me?
Right.
It's what do you do? Don't talk to me. Don't talk about me like we're friends. I don't know who
I don't
you
know
are.
you. Yeah. That's you have to have a tough skin.
Yeah.
And some, like you said, some reviews are valid.
Right.
Okay, I'll own it.
Yeah.
My kid fixed that plate. He put the crust of the macaroni and cheese. Everybody doesn't like the crust of the macaroni and cheese. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Let me make that right. But there are just some people that you will just never ever satisfy.
Yeah.
And I'm not from the school of the customer is always right.
Right.
I am not. You know what I mean? One thing you will not do is you won't disrespect my staff or my business. Now, if there's an issue, we can handle it in a nice, professional way. But I've just come to learn have a thick skin, and I'm not for everybody. And that's okay. People like what they like, and you might not like me.
Right.
Or my food, and that's okay. And I'm not going to take that personal, but it's tough. It's tough to see when you know that you've done your best.
Yeah.
It's tough to see when you know that your staff is just in there goofing off and the sauce, is all over the plate and not where it's supposed to be, So it's just the good outweighs the bad, though.
Yeah.
The good outweighs the bad, and you just take those people, and if especially on Facebook and Instagram, you have those same people that always have negative reviews. It's like, okay, well, you're just an unhappy person, so you can eat a bag of Lay's potato chips and you'll find something wrong with it, know. So go to hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's how I handle it. I really try to stay off of stuff, like that. Social media, I'll see it if somebody tags me, in it. But for the most part, I let the good outweigh the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you, all right, so, being part of it now, past couple years, what's something that you would change about the Syracuse food scene if you could?
Oh gosh, what would I change? I like the variety.
In Syracuse or in the market? Or both?
I think both. I think there's a good variety, in Syracuse. If you want Thai food, there's a place to go get Thai. You want
Yeah.
good Chinese, Italian. There's a good representation of that. I think what I would change is the mentality that everything should be cheap. I just think that's
Yeah.
a Syracuse thing across the board. If it gets above a certain price point, people start to get antsy.
Yeah.
And I get it. A lot of people might not have expendable income. You can't imagine the chargebacks we've had. People have eaten the food and charged it back and said that they didn't. Oh yeah, that was a thing for a while.
Wow.
And we would have to fight chargebacks because people would say they didn't eat the food.
Damn.
Just as a way to get their money back, order $80, $100, $200 worth of food and try to charge it back. So if anything, I would change that mentality.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for,
All right.
and appreciate it. So that's what I would change about the food scene.
Yeah.
Pay for it. We work hard.
Yeah.
Most of us do. At least,
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
we work hard. We're not trying to beat you over the head. Just realize that we have a cost to pay too.
Yeah.
Our costs are going up. So unfortunately, we have to pass that on,
Yeah.
to the customer. And also to be willing to go someplace new. You might go to Miss Prissy's all the time. So try 3-1 Fried tonight. You might find something there that you like. You might find something.
Don't put me in the same category as yourself. We've got a long way to go before we can be in that same conversation.
Oh, goodness. But you know what I mean. Just try something new,
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great about the market because you can get a little bit of everything. You can try something new. But if somebody's not been to the market or not going to the market, they're most likely to go to their go-to because I
Right.
do it, It's like, okay, well, let's try something new.
Yeah. We
That's
found,
what changed.
yeah, we found, just by accident, I was going to get my friend Tim from Buried Acorn, which there is an unofficial game for the Eat Local podcast. Every time I mention Buried Acorn, you have to take a drink of whatever it is. So there's the first time. And, but we were going to this Korean place that he told me about. We went there, they were closed. So right next to it was this Chinese cafe. I'm going to call it authentic because I don't know what authentic Chinese food is, but they have pork intestine on the menu, and it is surprisingly, absolutely, unbelievably delicious.
Really?
It's like thinly sliced pork intestine that's mixed with carrots and all these different vegetables. I don't know what the sauce is. There's some chili in there, but it is absolutely amazing. And it's also it's not expensive, but it's kind of expensive. It's like $20 a person if you go in there for lunch, which is up there for lunch, in some regards. But
Worth it.
yeah, it is worth it, But yeah, so I've noticed over the past, I'll blame COVID for it, and that is the separation from. It felt like before COVID, we were talking more about great food, great chefs, where people are, farmers, where they're getting their ingredients from, and it felt like that was more a part of like the bigger conversation around food. And today, it feels like it's more about the deal.
Yes.
It's like who's doing 50-cent wings tonight, sort of
Right.
a thing. And so I'm trying to think through how Eat Local can kind of facilitate that conversation back towards great food.
Because the appreciation is lost.
Yeah.
You're looking at the wrong things. Yes, I can have 50-cent wings, but appreciate the fact that they're really, really good when they're $1 a wing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's get off the price.
Right.
Good food is good food.
Yeah.
And we pay for good food.
Yeah.
If it's great, I don't care what it costs. I'm the person that goes out well, I want this and I want this and I want this. So I'm going to get all 3 meals
Yeah.
because I know how it is. I'm not going to ask you, can I have a side of this and a side? I'm just going to buy all 3 meals, and whatever it comes with, it comes with.
Yeah.
What I don't eat, I'm going to take it home.
Yeah.
Appreciate the food because it's good.
Yeah. Mark Bullis told me when he was on the podcast, was telling me that one of the big shifts for him and his approach towards his restaurants was when he realized that going out to eat was more entertainment than it was just having a meal. It started to become less about I'm hungry, let me go eat, to how can I be entertained? He was saying like once cell phones really, the iPhone really became such a big hit. It was everywhere that he realized people are going to start taking pictures of their food, of this, talking about their experience, writing reviews and blogs and all that kind of stuff. So I know that's part of the conversation when it comes to kind of like, how a menu should be set up, how the food should look on the plate, presented, all that kind of stuff. But that was kind of an interesting take, thinking about everything that you're doing when you're making food is, what's the entertainment value, so to speak, towards it. Right. So we're doing 2 things. We're definitely doing one thing. We're going to try and do another thing to try and shift that conversation away from 50-cent wings to, which I love 50-cent wings, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But trying to shift it from being about that to more about the quality and highlighting the great cooks and chefs in the area. We're going to come out with in July our top 76 restaurants in Central New York,
Cool.
and try and make a big thing about that. And Jonathan Gold, who was a LA food critic, who's passed away now, but he was like my favorite food critic. So we're going to release that list on his birthday.
Awesome.
And start talking about it here in probably the next month or so.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then I really want to do like a good, I don't know what to call it, but like a good food festival. Just like a small one to start, just with maybe 10 or 12 different restaurants or operators, but just only invite the people that are like doing really great food to it.
Food.
And it could be anything. It could be, maybe it's like one of the finer dining restaurants in the area. Maybe it's somebody doing, fried chicken. It doesn't matter what they're serving or barbecue or whatever.
Just good.
Just good.
Just be good.
Yeah.
Just be good.
So
I think that's great. Entertainment and food, Instagrammable.
Right.
Food being Instagrammable. I was reading an article a few months ago, and I'm like, what the hell is Instagrammable food? And it's just like, oh, okay, it's pretty, it's plated well. I freak out when it comes to stuff like that because I had a photo shoot this morning of my granny plate, which is a half a roasted chicken, and I'm freaking out. I'm an artist in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm creative when it comes to the ingredients I put in the pot. Now, put on the damn plate, and if you eat it, you eat it. You don't, you don't. It doesn't look pretty, but it tastes good.
Yeah.
So just
That's pretty funny.
just working on that,
Yeah.
just because you're right. People want to snap pictures of the food.
Yeah.
It has to have smoke and dry ice coming out of the drinks and stuff like that, and glitter, and it's just like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
I'm a home cook. I'm not a professionally trained chef. It's just like put in a glass with some ice and call it a day.
That's funny.
So we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting to the entertainment value.
There you go. All right. So the last question I'll ask you, and it's something that David Anastasio, who owned Peachtree Sandwich Company, told me I should ask every guest, and that is, why do you do what you do?
Simple answer, because I love it. I do. I love food. I love everything about food. I love food in the way that it makes people feel in a positive way. I like to share a part of myself, my family, my culture with other people. I just love it. Everything about food I love. The way it tastes, the way it smells, the way it makes me feel when I cook it. It's like a stress reliever for me. That's how it all started. When my daughter passed away, I really, really started cooking, and that was like therapeutic, for me. If I'm, be having a rough day, I'll get in the kitchen and I'll just start cooking, and everybody's like, well, what is going on? Why do we have Thanksgiving dinner on a Tuesday? It's like, well, I just had to work some stuff out. It's either cooking or cleaning. I chose to cook, so I love it. I love it.
What was it about that was like was it just kind of like the mindlessness of being able to sit there and kind of think through stuff?
Just being occupied.
Yeah.
Being occupied and training my mind to do something else, and so much of a thought process had to go into cooking, because there's no recipe. So now I'm remembering, what my grandmother did. I'm remembering what my mother did. And it's just like, okay, well, I don't have time to think about anything else, so it became my therapy.
Yeah.
I would just get in the kitchen and cook and come out and feel like $1 million. Like, okay, what's next? Now I can do life. You know what I mean? I can life now after I finish cooking all this food. And that was just it for me. So I've always loved it. My grandmother would cook and I would see people laughing and smiling and being happy, just from eating a simple bowl of soup. And, you want to make people feel that way.
Yeah.
You want people to enjoy themselves, and it stuck. And then, during that rough phase of my life, I kind of gravitated back towards that and was like, okay, we're gonna use this to make other people happy and to get me happy again. And it worked. Yeah. And it worked. I'm crazy, but I'm happy. It's a crazy endeavor, but I'm happy doing it. Yeah. I wouldn't do anything else, honestly. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Miss Dreamer, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. And everybody who's listening, get down to Miss Prissy's in the Salt City Market and check it out and get that Stellar plate.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.